time, the other call of action, he spoke about you have to have an authorization to proceed with pilots. So it should not be, and this was said all throughout the session, like the processes are very long. We need to shorten them up. So it's quite important. Also, this was read by Ivan. And towards the end, he said it's very important not to plan, but to have the schedule for follow-ups. Then with that, you're able to know what you've done. And the last but not least, the last presentation, this one was offered to us by Ambassador Tobias Makoba. And for his case, I went back, sorry. Yes. And for his case, what he dwelled on more, he was talking about the importance of understanding the geopolitics that we're in. And he really asked all the SOEs to be in the know at all times. And it was fascinating when we opened it up to the floor. There were quite a number of members who showcased as to how they took advantage, but just knowing what were different things that were happening in the area. And with him, he also shared 6 areas where he called them the global trends. You can see them on the left right there, and most of you can say, yeah, these are some of the global trends that you need to understand and follow, not only as the chairperson, but importantly, as the CEO of the SOEs. In answering his question, he said, you can look at the geopolitics as to whether a catalytic kind of a way, or it is your inhibitor. It can be whatever you want it to be, but what he said, be on the know, then you're in the safe side. You don't know, you're going to be surprised, and last thing you want is to be surprised, because all of us, we are here to offer services to the general public. And the call of action from the side of Balozi Makoba, he insisted that it is important that we all invest in the geopolitical radar, and we do this proactively. And then if we do that, then we will know when the opportunities are coming. At the same time, he said hire a chief geopolitical officer. Maybe most of you are sensitive with the cost. What he is saying, perhaps reassign somebody in your work and according to what you know to undertake this, because it's very important for you. But then importantly, also do a stress test. And if you're able also towards the end, make sure you reshape your production or your service that you're providing to make sure you still are resilient in the future. Those are the things that came from the presenters, but then from the floor, some of the comments that were raised related to, we were asked, so do we have any of the permanent secretaries? So that's some of the bold things that we are asked to do. Because when you're saying like we need to reduce the time, how do we do it if the permanent secretaries are not part of it? So this is a call that we were asked to make sure kwamba in these sessions, in this presentation, actually it was boldly set out that this presentation should be done to the all members of IMTC and Aicc-Kazi. I am looking at the corner on this side because I see some members from the Cabinet Secretariat. I think this one is good. And then the other call of action that was also called was more to do with having more smaller forums that should be made available. And this one is to you, Tiara, and your team. People appreciated the forum, but they thought it's important to have more. And this is all we have from this particular group. Now, shukuruni sana, asanteni sana.
Thank you, Dr. Kilama. Applaud again for her. Thank you. Asante sana. I think it was brief but on point, and you really covered. I was at some point in that panel and very much on point on the key issues which transpired. So without wasting time, now we go to the next one. As the program was, now it's going to be on rebuild. The moderator was Professor Sylvia Tim. Let's put our hands together while she comes to the podium as well. Karibu sana.
Na wasalimu kwa jina la Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. We had 3 topics that we discussed in our session. I hope the technicians are uploading. The first one was on Africa peer review mechanism, presented or shared with us by Her Excellency the Ambassador, the CEO of the African Peer Review Mechanism Secretariat. The second one was from Fatma Abdallah, the CEO of Umma Energy Tanzania, from bureaucracy to agility, transforming SOEs through synergies. And the third one, financial inclusion for sustainable growth for the SOEs in Tanzania. Yeah, they do. Technicians, can you please help us? It was sent to Jonathan. Otherwise, I go dry. Luvandra, Jonathan. Okay, they are starting a computer. I think we should not waste too much time. When it comes up, we'll continue. I would like to share with you the summary of what was presented and the few questions that came up. Well, I think all of us in this room know African Peer Review Mechanism was an initiative that was started by NEPAD, which is a new partnership for Africa development. Back in 2003 under AU, and the purpose was to promote, or is to promote, good governance among African states through mutual learning and peer pressure. Specific objectives are to encourage adoption of policies and practices that lead to political stability, high economic growth, sustainable development, and regional integration. Second, promote democracy, rule of law, accountability, and human rights. And the third is to identify challenges and share best practices across the continent. Those were high-level objectives for APRM. Unfortunately, the technical part seems not to work. Should I proceed, Chief Moderator? Yeah, okay. We were very lucky. Madam Ambassador took us through the APRM pillars, the process, and the impact that has so far been realized since APRM was established back in 2003, which is about 22 years ago. 6 pillars. One is on democracy and political governance. Second one is corporate governance. This is where we are going to narrow down. Economic governance and management, socio-economic development, state resilience, enabling states to withstand shocks of whichever nature. And finally, the 6th one is e-governance. So what is the process like to become part of the APRM? One thing we need to realize is that APRM is a voluntary tool. Member states do join voluntarily. They are not forced. Nobody compels any state to join. So members member states accede APRM voluntarily, and then the second stage, depending on resources and time. Okay. Wow. Yes, I can now scroll down. Okay, so I was on the process, the middle, orange-shaped one. Second step is every member state carries self-assessment, and then what follows is peer assessment, which we call, or is called country review mission, and which is carried out by a country review mission, followed by that report being tabled before the heads of state for deliberation, and finally, a country will commit itself to implement the recommendations that come out of the peer review process. So what has so far been the impact for those countries that have been peer reviewed? One is that they've enhanced the peer learning and enjoyed the pressure that comes from the peers. There has been strengthened citizen participation, particularly in policy dialogue. There has been promotion of transparency, accountability, and reforms, and there is definitely a record of alignment with the Agenda 2060 and UN SDGs. Now, I think we ask ourselves, as Tanzania, have we been assessed? Yes, we have been assessed twice. We were assessed in 2013, and the most recent assessment was carried out this year. And the good news that came out of it is that back in 2013, we were found to lack a number of issues, particularly on transparency, on reforms, a lot of bureaucracy. But by now, 2025, we were told by Madam Ambassador there has been great milestones. They have seen a lot of improvement in terms of governance, corporate governance in our SOEs, and we were given examples, the very examples that we know of TPA, of TANESCO, and the like. Now, the issues that came through her resonation with state-owned enterprises. One, she took us through the process and through emphasis that state-owned enterprises in Africa, we need to position ourselves as regional global partners, which speaks to synergies. She uniquely picked up on Tanzania, that Tanzania as a country, we are uniquely positioned. We are an opener to several landlocked countries. We can become infrastructure hub in terms of harbor, in terms of railway, in terms of road infrastructure. So, and I think this speaks to many of us that are in this room. The last one, which I think we all need to think about, is that she informed us that at APRM Secretariat, they have already developed African corporate governance principles in general, but they also have African corporate governance principles for state-owned enterprises. And the important thing is not that they are on paper, but we need really to familiarize with them, embed them, and contextualize them. Thirdly, there is an African network of SOEs, and it is meant for SOEs to come together, to exchange, to forge synergies for regional and global competitiveness. Fourthly, and this is something that is really sparked our interest. There is a development which is live and is going to go live in 2026. African Credit Rating Agency, Africa Credit Ratings Agency, the like of Moody. And here is where a lot of our comments came in. This is a rating agency at continental level to give an alternative opinion of country ratings, of our various banks' rating at continental level. It is going to be an independent private owned, but majority owned by African multilaterals and other corporate entities. So, and the question, many questions from the audience were like, so how are we going to be trusted? Is it going to be Africa? Is it going to be going to compete? But the issue is, many of all the ratings that have been done by the international rating agencies, it's only South Africa as a country that has been rated. Many of us have been rated negatively, or either poorly and in a very biased manner. And the issue is, they don't understand us. How can someone rate Tanzania from London, from New York? They have never been there, and they don't have any, they don't have any information about how Tanzania looks like. So those were the issues that came out. I would like to move further to the second presentation. This was presented by I use my computer. This was presented by Madam Fatma Abdallah, CEO of Puma Energies Tanzania. I've said about it. And as you can see, it is on moving from bureaucracy to agility, and as a way to make us forge synergies among SOEs. Why move from bureaucracy? Bureaucracy is necessary, but it's rigid, it's hierarchical, it slows down things. Market is not going to wait for us. We need to become agile, we need to embrace speed, flexibility, and innovation, and this is a tool. This is as a strategic movement. It will enable us to collaborate among ourselves, and she was very generous to share with us the examples of which companies have become very agile. One of it is Tanesco. It was given as an example, Brella, and we also had here yesterday Latra, but also synergies. Those entities that have synergized. We have TRA and TPA in Kuala, for those who know it, and they've done a great work. TRA at the port, so they are no longer working in silos, but they are synergizing. The call for action here is one statement which you can read. Agility is not a skill set. It is a survival trait. It is the one, it is a strategic tool, it's a strategic move. We need to make it as a movement in our SOEs, so that at board level, at ExCom level, and make sure that we embrace it through and throughout our organizations. The last one was from Kennedy Komba. Kennedy Komba is a director of financial deepening and inclusion at the Bank of Tanzania, our financial regulatory organization. It was on financial inclusion for sustainable growth of SOEs. And one thing we took off from the reflections that it's only 24% of Tanzanians that are banked. And 60% of our Tanzanians have mobile wallet. But going deeper, of all those that have mobile wallet, 40%, 30% of women have mobile wallet, but is not registered in their names, which means we have NIDA and it's not working. 40% of male have SIM card, but is not registered in their names. This is why we need to work on financial inclusion. And so, what is the call for action? Call for action, we really need to take this as one of our agenda in our boardroom. Whatever we do, how do we, if you are in a bank, if you are at NIDA, if you are in LATRA, what is it that we need to do to make sure that we professionalize our governance in order to take into account financial inclusion and take on board those small and medium enterprises, but women and men that are not directly banked, or they don't even have a SIM card in their own name. We need to strengthen our supply chains. We need to digitize. Whether we are talking of becoming agile, forging synergies, we cannot do it without digitization, ladies and gentlemen. And this calls for innovation. This calls for embracing AI, whatever we can make use of. The Kennedy informed us in all of our SOEs, we have a lot of data, but we are not using this data for making decisions. So we need to mine the data that we have and make data-driven decisions, data-driven business model. And we therefore need to also invest in digital infrastructure in our SOEs. It is not an option, it is a must. Thank you very much. There are many questions, but they are going to come here. You can also ask them your questions. Thank you very much. Asante. Okay.
Thank you, Professor, and sorry for, but I think you did very well, very nicely narrated summary. We felt like we were there, those of us who did not attend that particular session. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together again for Professor Sylvia Temu. Asante sana. Please take people, kindly come and assist so that we can connect the next presentation. So the next one is going to come from Honorable Dr. Gladness Salema, who was in the session on resilience, which was happening at Mount Meru, right? So we are going to be connected, and then you will also do the same in terms of the summary. Let me try.
It's there.
Sorry? It's wireless. You don't use that.
market needs that you are addressing. So based on that, then the issue of knowledge management, the issue of strategic partnerships is becoming a critical concern. And if we really want to have sustainability as far as our competitive advantages are concerned, then it is a must that we as leaders, we have to take into consideration the whole aspect of understanding our needs, so that we can have innovations which actually will support the needs that we have. So it came out clear that we should never have one solution that fits all, but we must understand our needs and see how we can use these strategic partnerships, but also develop such partnerships, establish them, and manage them in a sustainable manner, depending on the needs that we have. But another important thing that came out as something very important is that the need of having a shared vision, collaboration, and strategic partnerships being taken as one set, okay? And here we had, he talked very deeply as far as the importance of not just having a vision, but a vision community. That SOEs, if they really want to perform, it's not enough like having understanding the Vision 2050 and then you translate it into the vision of the organization, but you need to have a vision community. This would be a community of the people, and that might include also your partners and different stakeholders, both internal and external. And these are the people whom they sleep on that particular vision, they think about that particular vision, they monitor the vision, and they make sure that we are aligned with the vision as far as our execution of different strategies is concerned. So that one came out very, very, very clear that it's not enough to have the vision, but we need to have the vision community. The vision community, like these are the champions, this is a community that holds and to make sure that the vision is being implemented. Another important thing that came out as far as strategic partnerships and knowledge exchange is concerned is that strategic partnerships and knowledge exchange, actually, they help us to build high-performing teams. Because these high-performing teams, basically, they also need the innovation. They need the solutions, for them to be high-performing. And this one came very clear that we need to think of how can we have high-performing teams, in our SOEs. And that one should be supported by knowledge transfer, that we put knowledge transfer at the center. We invest on knowledge transfer, we invest on strategic partnerships because they are also going to support the knowledge transfer. So identifying the right partners, given the strategic objectives that we have, and we make sure that we don't just partner, but we make sure that within the partnership, there is also knowledge transfer. And that one is a very important component as far as building high-performing teams. And that one was also linked on the different innovations, different solutions which we can have to support or to facilitate these high-performing teams. And it came out very clear. All leaders who want to see that they have high-performing teams, it came out clear that Professor Adoko said clear, get out of their way. Get out of the way of the teams. Leave them free to operate so that they can innovate. They can exchange knowledge. They can learn. That our leadership, the old-style leadership, might not facilitate us to have these high-performing teams because it might limit the knowledge exchange and development of this partnership. So he emphasized on leaving the teams to evolve the teams to innovate instead of micro-management. So that one came out very clear that if we put in place, we focus on knowledge exchange, we focus on building these strategic partnerships, our SOEs will be able to have the high-performing teams, and that one will enable you to leave them to evolve instead of micromanagement. But in his presentation, he also emphasized that we can never ignore the role of sustainability, the importance of sustainability. As we understand, if we want to compete globally, that is in the global market, we want to be competitive, then definitely sustainability is a global agenda where we are talking about economical sustainability, social sustainability, but at the same time, environmental sustainability. So the whole thing is about having these innovations that will help us to be sustainable. Yeah, and in his discussion, it looks clearly that if we have strategic partnerships, we have knowledge transfer, we'll be able to meet the needs for sustainability. And it was very clear in the discussion that if we talk about sustainability, this is a complex, what can I say? This is a complex problem. Yeah, as we all understand that having a balance of both the economical sustainability, environmental sustainability, the social sustainability is quite complex. And he argued clearly, if our SOEs want to be sustainable, they have to adopt a system thinking. That is, get out of the box, understand the components, the different components of the environment in which you are operating, but get out of the box to establish these strategic partnerships. Get out of the box to invest on knowledge sharing. Yeah, and this will be able to help us to achieve the sustainability agenda. Thus, we can never talk of sustainability if we don't talk of innovation. And if we want to achieve the innovation agenda, then definitely we need to have these strategic partnerships, and we also need to invest on knowledge transfer. And together we'll be able to have sustainable SOEs. So he really spoke very highly on the issue of investment in knowledge transfer, and he went further into saying that what we need today is not knowledge sharing. Yeah, we need the bidirectional knowledge transfer between the partners whom are in that particular strategic partnership. So he even challenged the theory that we all know that we always say knowledge is power. Yeah, I remember when we were young, we used to sing like knowledge is power. But today he challenged us that actual knowledge by itself is just powerless. It is just powerless. Just having the knowledge is powerless. It becomes powerful if the SOEs will be able to make it into use. If the SOEs will be able to develop solutions based on the knowledge that has been acquired, they'll be able to address their needs, based on the knowledge that they have acquired. So that one came out very clear, and it was interesting that as SOEs leaders, we must understand the role of knowledge. It's not just enough to accumulate knowledge, but until we invest on making use of that particular knowledge. And then he also emphasized on the need of the change, mindset change, as far as leaders we are. That is, that our problems, we'll be able to solve our own problems. So he emphasized that SOEs should start internally. Through knowledge sharing, through your strategic partnerships, get your internal solutions. Instead of relying, for example, to the tiara should do this, the tiara should do that, the government should. What are we doing internally? What lessons do we have? And we use these lessons to develop our own solutions to our own problems. But at the same time, he also emphasized on the institutional capacity building, that this is a very, very important aspect, that we must be intentional, that we want to build our institutional capacity so that we can be able to address the institutional performance objective. So he emphasized on having the right setup, that there is a need for SOEs to have the right institutional setup that is aligned with the institutional performance objectives. So these are very, very important issues which actually came out in that first presentation. In our second presentation, this was done, as I said before, by Dr. Tairo, and this is an expert in imaging tech. He's an expert in imaging technologies, and he showed the members case examples on using the image technologies to enhance management of the SOEs. So this was an opening part of the presentation, because as we know, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of, everybody have their own caveats as far as using the emerging technologies such as AI's, Internet of Things. So he was able to break the ice to show us that we have no choice. Yeah, so this is the method. This is the understanding that we have no choice. We have to adopt the global trends. And now it's all about emerging technology. So I think he was able to deliver many of us, if not all of us. That is, it's not about embracing technology. We are used to that, embracing technology, but no, we have really to adopt the technology and use it to improve the efficiency of our SOEs. So he also talked on the importance of considering the needs. Okay, so this is the same, it's a link to the first presentation that, yes, we are talking about solutions. Yeah, we are talking about these innovations, but do they really address the needs of our SOEs? We are not talking about Indian SOEs. We are not talking about USA SOEs. We are talking about Tanzanians SOEs. So do we understand the needs? Do we have the technology? So this is something that came out very clear, that whatever technology that the SOEs have to adapt, have to employ, we must make sure that it is addressing the needs. So we can look at global technologies, but at the same time, think about customization of the solution so that you are able to address the needs, okay? And he came out very clear that this is where there's a linkage between investment in technology and return on investment. Yeah, so this is where we have that linkage. If it is not addressing the business process needs, then definitely we will not see the contribution of the investment in technology to the return on investments of our SOE. So this is something that was highly emphasized, that we don't just jump up and take whatever that is in the market, but we really we need to understand the needs. And he actually recommended very clear that at this moment, given that you're talking about the transformation agenda, then homegrown solutions. It means the solutions which actually address our needs based on the context, based on the market that we want to meet, then we'll be able, these solutions will contribute to profitability. If not like that, then definitely we will not be aligned if we just use any of the technology. So this is something that was highly, highly emphasized. And he also emphasized that it's very important for the leaders to understand that there are opportunities and applications for SOEs, the application of technologies for SOEs, and they actually contribute to the efficiency, the strategic advantages that you can position yourself in the market and have a unique contribution in the market just because you are using an innovative solution. So he linked actually your competitive advantages, your strategic advantages, as far as the application of the right solutions, technology-based solutions that we have. But he also mentioned that through the adoption of these technologies, actually they support transparency and service delivery. So it's something that these benefits are very crucial if we really want to be competitive. Maana tunaona kwamba tunatakiwa kuwa shindani, ndani na nje, then hatuna option. That it is no longer an option, it is no longer a choice that we will adopt, we will not adopt. It is a must given the global trends. But he also brought out a very important issue that is also considered that is very important for regulators and legislators as far as the IT governance and regulation is concerned. At some point, it was clearly indicated that over-regulation hinders innovations. Because these emerging technologies, the change is very fast if we want to go with the global trends. So he brought this discussion and is for the dialogue with the legislators, regulators who are also here, that do we have the regulations which actually support the speed, the aspect of speed as far as innovations are concerned. So it came out as a very, very important, can say, limiting factor, that with the current regulatory environment, it is actually hindering the speed to innovate. Okay, so that is something that came out, that we have to take action and look on how we can have a regulatory environment or governance structures. This includes even within our organizations. Yes, we embrace bureaucracy, but to what extent does the bureaucracy pay off as far as the innovations are concerned? So it's both a concern internally to that particular SOE, and that's why the first presenter talked about the institutional capacity. So we can ask ourselves, we have the institutional capacity that supports speed in innovation. Yeah, so these were the issues that we really need to look on how our SOEs are governed. Yeah, they are regulated, and consider the issue that innovation needs speed. Yeah, we are always lagging behind. Okay, but he also brought out an issue that if we talk about innovation today, like a solution today is not an end by itself, because the world is so dynamic. SOEs are operating in a very dynamic environment, that we need to ensure that there is sustainability as far as development of these relevant innovations. So this is both to the SOEs, that internally we must plan, we must have strategies, we must have the right governance which will ensure that the innovation aspect is sustainable. And this is the same as to the business environment where the SOEs actually operate. So this came out as very, very important issues. And in his presentation, he even talked about why many of the SOEs fail. Why do we fail, for example, to see the effect, or we can say the multiply effects, as far as investment in this in technological solutions and compared to return on investment? So he brought out a very clear gap, that actually there is a gap between a strategy and an execution. And this, I think, has been said several times, that sometimes we have strategies, very good strategies, very good plans written, but how do we execute them? At the same time, how dynamic are we in the execution? Because you might be having a strategy, but things have changed. How dynamic, how flexible are we during the execution? So he brought this aspect that we need to bridge the gap between what we have as a strategy and the execution, that there have to be an alignment between the two. The last presentation was on promises. Sorry? So this is another aspect that came out from the second presentation, that is, apart from just looking on emerging technologies as a promise, we must put it into practice. That is there. We must put it into practice. And Dr. Tairo brought out about 5 steps which we can consider if we want to implement. We want to put it into practice. That is, you need to identify your needs, as we said. You need to re-engineer your processes. That is, you must map your processes, understand them, and see which processes actually need re-engineering by using technology. That's where is the bottleneck, where are the issues. So we cannot just wake up in the morning and say, we need this technology. Let us buy this particular technology. So he brought out a stepwise approach, a 5-step approach where we need to identify our independence needs, and could be even by process, and then we develop solutions, we pilot them before we scale up. So these were the 5 steps that he recommended for the SOEs to make sure that they are considered if we talk about the transformation and becoming innovative. But he also insisted on the importance of having a feedback loop. This is something very important, that is, as SOEs, sometimes we just push ahead, but we push forward, but we don't know what is coming back. So this feedback loop, getting feedback, is very important, and we have to use that particular feedback, because you can have it and then you are not using it. He also talked about the enablers of success for SOEs, that these are some of the factors that SOEs need to consider, and it's mainly that you need to have a clear strategy, you need to have the governance framework, to support the implementation of that particular strategy. But you need to have an infrastructure and the equipments, all the needs that are needed to implement or to employ that particular innovation. So he also mentioned that several times, we deploy our experts, but they are not equipped. They are not equipped. So with that case, it's very important to consider the infrastructure, but also the workforce. The workforce with the right skill and capacity building, particularly on that aspect of innovation, so that we have sustainable development of this innovation. But he also insisted that it's very important that we have visionary leaders. It was said, I think, with Dr. Blandina, the North. That is where is the common North that the SOE is moving forward. If everybody is looking on their own way, we don't have a Commonwealth, then it's very hard to know which innovations we should prioritize. We should budget for. So it's very important that we have the visionary leadership and accountability. Take responsibility on our actions as far as innovations are concerned. The third presentation was on preparing SOE's talent for the AI and automation. Okay, so this is it's actually like complementing what emerged from the second presenter and even the first presenter. The first thing is that SOEs should ask themselves, do you recognize talent in your organization? Where we had a discussion on the difference between skills and talents. A talent is different from a skill. Do we recognize the role of talent? Because from the talent, that's where an innovation can emerge. When someone combines a talent and a skill. So this one came out very, very clear that it is something that SOEs need to focus on. Similarly, if we look on strategic partnerships, the issue of talent is coming in. What are we going to gain there? So this is something that really came out as an alert. That is, do we think of the talent? Do we put the human capital as key? So these were issues that if we really want to see the sustainability in the transformation, we should never ignore the human capital aspect. And it's not just employing people with the bachelor degrees, no, because they have a certain skills that has been indicated, they've been trained, no. But recognize the talent. Because when you combine talent and skill, that is where you get amazing results, extraordinary results, which will make you the SOE competitive. So within the talent, the combination of talent and skill, that is where we have the unique or the competitive advantage of our SOEs. So that one was emphasized. And also the importance of a shift. We are used to return on investment, the ROI, but now the presenter brought out return on talents. And that CEOs, but at the same time, boards should be able to give an oversight on the return on talents. So until we do that, then that's where we have sustainable competitive advantages of our SOEs. He also emphasized on knowledge transfer, and that is very key because if you combine talents and skills and you have already organized a very organized framework for knowledge transfer, or we say for a competence framework, then that's where we'll be able to get very unique human capabilities. So that one came out very clear. The same as for the succession plans, that is we think of having this competence-based frameworks, human resource management frameworks, where we plan and emphasize on having succession plans for certain capabilities. So it's not just succession plan for the leadership position, but here we are talking about succession plan of the human capital. That has to be intentional, that it has to be organized, that our SOEs need to have that competence framework that will support the sustainability of the capabilities which are needed in the market. He also emphasized on the role of stakeholders engagement, and somehow it is aligned with the strategic partnership, but also on having a governance structure which supports one to use their talents. Okay? So that was the main issue. The governance structures, policies, legal and regulatory frameworks which supports someone to use a talent. So this could be internally, but at the same time could be from the strategic partners. So that is, those are some of key issues that came out. How do we put the person, the people, at the center of the transformation agenda? Now we had some discussions, and from questions and responses, first thing that we thought is very important to take on board is the issue of over-regulation. Over-regulation which does not support knowledge transfer, over-regulation which actually hinders innovations, speed to innovate, yeah, all of that. Yeah, so the regulatory environment, or I can say the business environment and the governance structures came out as very, very important, that we need to have appropriate and predictable governance structures. Yeah, so that even if we invest on talents, then at the same time we are able to, we are accommodated by the governance structures. But there was also a recommendation on the role of the TRR. That is, it should facilitate collaborations between SOEs for knowledge transfer and strategic partnership. But also it should open up and see how they bring on board other actors which are not like market-based, or I can say profitable SOEs. We consider them as SOEs such as academia, research institutes, that the TRR office should facilitate, create a framework, a structure which will coordinate this, the establishment of these collaborations. But also, another takeaway was a shift from just knowledge exchange, because now we can say we share reports, we do this knowledge exchange, but to move into knowledge sharing. Okay, that is, it's very important that we have a knowledge management infrastructure, and I think that one can go together with the second bullet, that we have a well organized knowledge management infrastructure to support the SOEs. Also, another takeaway is that we need SOEs, there's a need for SOEs to prepare, to prepare and making sure that we are going with the global trends and we adopt the system thinking. And when we talked about the 4 Rs, of our President, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, we saw that within the 4 Rs, the system thinking is inside. So we really need to not just to embrace that I'm taking this R, I'm leaving away another R. No, we should take all of them, but also look on the transformation agenda from a complex understanding that you need different components to be brought together and they do interact. So that one came out very, very clear, that if we just operate as we used to, that is not with the old ways of doing things, not with the traditional ways of managing our SOEs, that you are in silo, you are just yourself, you don't think about who are the strategic partners, that let us get out of that box and have this system thinking to make sure that we have the transformation achieved. Another important thing was putting the human capital at the center, that this should be, it should be intentional. It should be intentional and should be a priority. But also when we talk about technology adoption and adaptation, we should never ignore the risk management. That is, CEOs and boards should understand the different technologies that are being adopted and the risk of the risks that the organization is being exposed, and have the risk management frameworks. Another important thing that was, it really came out, and this was mainly from Professor Moses. He just said, you people get out of the box. We need to have that open-minded. We need to have the entrepreneurial mindset. we need to understand that you cannot solve a problem on your own. You need to have partners to solve certain problems. Yeah, so this one came out very clear that let's stop complaining. There's a lot of solutions which are within our SOEs. So that one came out clearly. But also the alignment with the vision. This one came out as a takeaway. The national vision, that is the Vision 2050, but also the organization vision. And here it was clearly emphasized, and I'm very grateful for the previous moderators. They also talked about it. Agility and leanness. Waste removal. That we must make sure that our SOEs are only accommodating value-adding processes. Those processes which do not add value, remove them. So that is the lean, the waste management that we are talking about. And also agility, the responsiveness, the rapidness in the responsiveness. But we said, if we are not structured, it will just remain as a wish. The transformation will just remain as a wish. Even if you have a written vision document, it will remain as a wish. SOEs should develop a roadmap and execute it to make sure that they realize the outcomes that are intended. The last thing that came out is that we have to go beyond embracing technology and adopt the technology. Yeah? That is, it's enough to say we embrace technology, we embrace this strategy, embraces technology. No, no, no. The strategy should be very clear. Which technologies do we adopt? And at the end, what we all agreed is that a system thinking and the realization of the Vision 2050 can never be separated. Can never be separated, and we still need to consider the 4 R's of our President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan. Saying that, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Salema. Let's put our hands together again for her. Asanteni sana, moderators wenzangu watatu. I think you could see a wow from their presentation, and that gives you an insight of what happened from the horse's mouth itself, I mean from the presenters. So they only summarized, but they put it very well, and it is very exciting, and you could see the lessons. And again, as an experience, the first one was very brief, the second one a little bit longer, and the third one, but probably the last 2 presenters are academics in nature, so they keep their spirit of, you know, being academics. But I think it was very, very well done. Thank you very much for all the presenters. Asanteni sana. Basi, nafikiri ni waruhusu sasa mkachukue sehemu zenu za kuketi. Let's clap again for them. Applaud for the presenters. Please take the very front seats. The very front seats. I still need you at one point when the presenters are coming. Yes, the very front row. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, early in the beginning, I announced about the lost and found cell phone. If it is needed, please, on my right side, just while you are leaving, you can find it. And there's also a briefcase bag, which was also found. So those who lost those items, they can find them. The next part of the session now, we are going to invite the presenters. Only one of them is excused, but we had, I think, 9 in total. And I will invite them to come without spending much time, but we have Aida Azmi, we have Ivan Tarimo, Balozi Tobias Makoba. So Ambassador Antoinette is excused, but we also have the Fatma Abdallah from Puma Energies. We have Mr. Kennedy Komba from the Bank of Tanzania, Professor Moses Yadoko, Dr. Daniel Tairo, and Dr. Hussein Lufunyo. All of you, please come to the front and randomly take a seat in the very front podium here, and then we will get another exciting moment before we end the day with you. Karibuni. Tuwapigie makofi wakati wanakuja kwenye podium. Thank you very much. Asante. Yes, everybody is comfortably seated. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, in front of you is that carefully selected, wonderful panel of experts derived from diverse backgrounds. We see diplomats, industry experts with a lot of experience, academics, professionals who are leading enterprises just like you leaders there. And you could learn from their presentations, case studies, governance, diplomacy, leadership related issues, specific experiences from the cases where these were also leading or engaged, but even some stuff which were derived from the real research. And they were presented this morning. But maybe I'm going to open up, but in a bit of a unique way rather than just shooting questions to them, maybe reflecting with them the messages which you have got. But before that, we could probably also get an opportunity just to hear their voices, particularly for those who are not in the rooms where they were presenting. So I want them just to say one message of reflection, not necessarily drawn from their own presentation, but even from other presentation within the sessions where they were, even or from even outside based on the presentations which were done by moderators. So just one message which you got, and you can also reintroduce yourself if you wish, but then go to that particular message. We go through that particular round, and then we'll get an opportunity to receive some more inputs from the floor. Nianzie kwa Bi Fatma Abdallah on that side. Namba mumsogeze microphone, asante.
So just one message. Is that right?
Yeah, you can just pack it not in one sentence, but just a message, like a key message which you can reflect on based on today from morning until this point.
Okay, my name is Fatma Abdallah. As introduced, I'm the CEO of Puma Energy. The message that I got today from all the presenters is efficiency, operational excellence, and agility, meaning there's no way we can be complacent, meaning like we need to get out of our comfort zone.
Asante sana, very brief.
Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, ya kwangu ni mengi, lakini nitayafupisha. La kwanza, to rely kwenye data kupata insights kwa ajili ya kufanya maamuzi. Kama viongozi, sehemu pekee ambayo unaweza ukapewa solution kabla ya kusema shida yako ni kwa mganga wa kienyeji. Ukifika tu anakuambia shida yako ni hii. Lakini huku kwenye taasisi na organization you have to rely on data kufanya maamuzi. Kwa hiyo ambacho za nikasema ni kwamba to rely kwenye data, kama hatufahamu tuulize. Na hapa tulipo tunatofautiana maturity level kwenye masuala ya IT. Kuna taasisi ambazo ziko very well advanced ziko hapa, na kuna wengine ambao bado wanajitafuta. Kwa hiyo ningeshauri kama mnaweza mkatumia nafasi hii pia engage each other. Kuna wengine wako way advanced ambao ukikaa nao wanaweza kukuelezea na tukajifunza kutokana na hilo. Asanteni.
Asante, tuende kwa Dr. Lufunyo, karibu.
Thank you so much. Mine is very small but critical. If you look into the theme, the main issue here is sustainability and reforms. So my emphasis is to focus into reforming the systems, processes, and people. Alignment of these, we are going to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Adoko.
Yeah, so I want to talk about state-owned organizations, that they are set up by statute for a reason. Bureaucracy is built as an inherent attribute of state-owned enterprises globally. And by the way, the need to transform, the need to innovate within state-owned organizations is not a uniquely Tanzanian challenge. A visit to our neighbors in this region, across Africa, they are wrestling with the same. So we are in a good place, but we can make progress. Part of bureaucracy, what bureaucracy comes with, is processes. Processes are expensive to execute. I've seen processes that are expensive at times more than labor, human labor. Sometimes we need processes within bureaucracy to understand processes. It's ridiculous. In 2025, we can't afford it. So if I may be blunt, I only know how to be blunt. We really need to look inward and find out processes that do not add value. There may be processes you'll be surprised. And I've done this before, a survey of processes for an organization. Couldn't find owners, couldn't find who was using those processes, but there were bottlenecks holding progress and agility. So that's my takeaway. I'll stop right there.
Thank you very much. Dr. Kennedy Komba.
Thank you, Director. And my takeaway from the session is, from this session is that people centricity is quite important. The entire design of the services that SOEs do provide is basically tailored to ensure that the services that are being offered will, at the end of the day, facilitate inclusiveness in terms of services that will ensure that the demands that the society needs are actually implemented. And key to that, being a cornerstone of development, is the fact that you need to ensure efficiency, quality of services, and societal legitimacy, which then brings trust for the society to use the services, which goes back to governance and other structures that create a sustainable model. Thank you.
Thank you. Aida?
Thank you. My reflection or my takeaway from the presentation is the encouragement for leaders to be completely obsessed with numbers, and OTR has designed this wonderful dashboard that's going to be published. So I think the invitation is for all leaders to be obsessed with the results that they want to show, and have the courage to play the game of impossible. Design a strategy plan that is destined to fail based on the current way of working. So push that boundary to say that this strategic transformation plan for my organization will absolutely 1000% fail if we don't change. So push that boundary and adopt that mindset to play that game of impossible to inspire big results. So Chezaya CEO is Wizekana. Thank you. That was my game of impossible. I'm glad I managed to do it. Thank you.
Swahili. Thank you. Ivan, remember, the doors are not locked here. So the quadrillion thing. Okay, Karibu.
I was going to say is a number, not a word for me. And the number was 1 quadrillion Tanzanian shillings, which is the size of the OTR portfolio in 2050, if we maintain the same ratio with what the size is now to our GDP. So there was a big silence in the room when we said 1 quadrillion. And I'd like to appreciate Ida's presentation. It was an excellent presentation. For those who are not in the room on that session, I really urge you to have a look at it as well. Ule mtaani nasema alipiga kwenye mshono, and it was spot on in terms of some of the issues that we have as SOEs, and the main, the six secrets of transformation. Very, very useful. Thank you.
Asante. Just an emphasis, so you could see that experts are even also learning from each other's. And I'm sure there's a lot of things to learn from all the leaders who are sitting in front of us here. But we are exchanging the experience and the lessons, right? Balozi Makoba.
Thank you. TRA is part of the government. Now it's been the second season that the emphasis is for SOEs going global. So that's call number 1. But I'm here to remind you that the world is in chaos, and the geopolitical turbulences are not so friendly for businesses. If you're not careful, any strategy, whatever that you've been planning, will be overturned. So my call, take interest, because only those who will take interest on geopolitical trends are the ones who will thrive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Balozi Makoba. And you being the last one to speak in this round, I took a message from you. Don't wait to be caught in surprise. The geopolitics are there. The geographies can benefit us. Let's take advantage of it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, from my earlier note, there's a lot of good case and stories We had leaders who won and received the award yesterday here. We have Madam Fatma Abdallah from Puma, which is our own SOE here, telling success. And I think there's a lot of success stories from everybody here. So, based on these lessons which you have learned throughout the day from morning, I would like now to open up. It's open, you can ask a question, but I encourage you to go into the reflection of what are we taking away as a message, what are we going to make a change in our own organizations, and what are we telling each other in terms of doing transformation, resilience, and everything which you have gone through. But you can point something specific or a comment to these presenters, because then I will have them reacting to you later on. So I open up. I think there's a number of microphones which can be roaming around, and then we can use them to speak. So I'm looking forward to hands being risen up now, and then we can hear from you. So the floor is yours, ladies and gentlemen. Karibuni. Mnaweza pia kutumia Kiswahili. Lugha zote mbili zinatumika katika hili, lakini kama uta-address kwa an international expert, so probably it is preferable to go into English so that it is easier for them to catch it. I don't see hands yet. Where? Okay. Please, send the mic there. Asante.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Bagayo Sakware. I'm the Commissioner of Insurance from TIRA. I had learned a lot, but most important from where we sit in our group at Pupa Tower. I've learned that the world is governed by interest, and this is a quote from Balozi Makoba. Now, my one most important thing which I want to point out is the cost of getting government services. In order to get an acceptance as a country by the citizen, we as a COEs, we have to work towards making a cost of government services smaller or little as possible as we can. And that is something I think our facilitators has to address and say how we can make the government services cost reduced so that we get that acceptance. And the second one is what you have said about Balozi Makoba, that how can we make our interest first as a nation and define our interest at each organization. Thank you very much.
Asante, Dr. Sakware. Some more hands, please. Yeah, center, back. Somebody who already has a microphone? Yes.
I'm way too far, so let me move down a little bit so I can be seen.
Very good.
I have a quick question. Seems like the African education system seems to be enjoying producing professionals, degrees, masters and PhDs, more than producing skills and competencies. How do we convince the academic community, maybe, or maybe the politicians, or whoever is enjoying the production of degrees and production of professionals instead of producing skills? China changed almost 600 universities into polytechnics. That's where they are today. And we seem to be stuck and seem like we're expanding universities, and we're even killing some of the technical education schools to turn them into universities. How do we convince these people to understand where the world is going today? I was just reading a book last night which talks about the end of universities or the killing of universities or something like that. I cannot remember the title properly. But it also talks about that. How do we move from enjoying professionals, HR professional, accountant, CPA, so and so, instead of saying we have a financial analyst we have a human resource analyst, something like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kadari Singo from Ufunguzi Institute for that reflection. Yes, please.
Andrew Komba from NFRA again. What I see that today's, this year's session is a little bit lucky in a sense that it's a time when we are putting our first step towards the implementation of the National Development Vision. My reflection here is that we really need to see how we put now this is the 25 years vision into action. There should be now the taking in of the more pragmatic action on the form of the working plans. They could be in a corrective way, touching different sectors, touching different state-owned enterprises which are here, but some could be touching individual interests of the SOEs. In that case, what I want to say is that all submissions which have been made since the first day today, issues of ICT, issue of transformative thinking, transformation, moving, changing the assets into cash flow, issues of looking how we can contribute to the GDP. All these issues are well articulated in the National Development Vision, which we have now. So what we need to do, the reflection, is to see now how do we cascade at the level of implementation. We have the role where we can locate to the central institutions, which actually have the role to influence policy so that they can align with the vision. And they can align as well with what we have today and what we have yesterday. What I'm trying to say, if you go at the top, we already have the framework, which is a vision. But when you go at the implementation level, we have these good ideas, whereas the state-owned enterprises are told to consider and adopt. But something is missing at the middle, where we need now to see how do we push relevant policies, how do we push relevant frameworks, which can make all this happening in the coming 25 years. So this is the reflection which I would like to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Komba. With a few hands, I see now I change. So if you have a question specific to my panelist here, please shoot it. Kwa hiyo, let's be free. Nina mkono pale, naona mikono inaanza kuongezeka. And then nitakuja kwako, Professor.
Thank you very much, moderator. I'm Isaac Lupokela from one of the gold projects here in Tanzania in Sengerema. Mine is more of reflection, and especially I will borrow from what Ambassador Makoba said, but also Honorable Dr. Salema. I think we are in the world whereby there are a lot of changes, a lot of disruptions in terms of geopolitics, but also technology. So for us, the most important thing is how fast are we in terms of implementing the new learnings that we are getting daily, or how quick are we in terms of adopting the technology? Because if we keep on procrastinating some of the very important and strategic matters, then we won't be moving towards the 2050 development vision of the country. So I think I should urge to all of the participants, we should be very careful in terms of how fast are we in terms of executing what we are learning, but also in terms of adopting the changes that are happening in the technological space, but also embracing the geopolitical changes that are happening globally. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And as we continue with the discussion, the presentation by Ambassador Makoba partly covers the governance aspect. We do well with governance if we engage properly in geopolitics. And when you talk about the ESG, environmental, social, and governance, luckily also, Mr. Kennedy Komba from BOT also covered the social aspect. When you talk about financial inclusion, is very much of a social, that the wealthy which is being created by SOEs, which you are leading, trickles down to the society. They benefit in terms of investment, but also in terms of the benefit of the services and the businesses which you actually run. Now to Professor Tem, and then I look forward to some more hands.
Thank you very much, and I have only 2 questions. And my question is directed to Ida from Pemandu. Ida, thank you very much. You have urged us to play the game of impossible. And I think this is a takeaway from this workshop. What is it that boards and CEOs are going to play as a game of impossible? In this game, what has been your experience? What has been the most successful factors in ensuring that the game of impossible works? Which country? But secondly, what have been the challenges that, given your experience, I know you have worked in different countries, what have been the challenges that most institutions, companies experience as they play the game of impossible? What has been your experience? Because we would not like to repeat mistakes. To me, Mr. Chair, Mr. Moderator, my takeaway as a board chair is really to disrupt the strategy. The strategy that I have has to now become a game of impossible. Set myself a higher bar, engage, and drive the numbers. Numbers are not necessarily in terms of dollars, shillings, but customer service, engagement, and the like. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor. So I tweaked my strategy a bit just to extract some more engagement or questions from you before I go back to my panel. As a CEO and as a chairperson or a director of a board, what should we expect from your organization in the coming year or in the coming years, based on the lessons which you have drawn from these wonderful panelists and panels which you have had this morning? Just give us some of the insights on some expectations which you should have from your organization in terms of leadership. Mzee wangu Simbakalia, karibu.
Thank you very much, Simbakalia. Forgive me, maybe I won't answer your question directly.
Yes.
But yesterday there was a slide, a very interesting slide, which was projected at the end. TR, sir, yesterday you projected a slide with, I think it was part of a circular issued in 1969. It was a picture of Mwalimu Nyerere. I would like to request, after listening yesterday and today, I would like to request that to be projected there, and I would like to hear from the experts what they say about that. Because I say, if that is still on, if that circular is still valid, and what is necessary will be done to implement what is stated there. Mimi nasema, nipe kazi yoyote. The most impossible, anafikiria wewe, anafikiria mtu. Jeshini military engineers, we have a saying, the impossible we do right away. Only miracles will take a little bit longer, kwa sababu lazima tuende tukasali tuombe. Mimi naomba hiyo slide iwepo hiyo. Alafu tuwasikie wataalamu wanasemaje.
Asante kanali mstaafu, linafanywa kazi technically. Yes, karibu.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I also join my colleagues to congratulate the presenters for wonderful presentations. And I'm also glad that was mentioned somewhere along the way that we have to really rely on homegrown solutions. when it comes to the use of technology to support transformation that we're talking about here. Then I was also challenged by one of my colleagues there who said, as higher learning institutions, where are we going as regarding to skills versus knowledge? I think I should give an example which is really challenging, and it's going to change the way we think about higher education in Tanzania. For example, if you look closely right now as regarding to homegrown solutions, especially IT solutions, I happen to be part of the eager board member. All solutions that we're talking about right now that are driving transformations in all sectors, be it financial sector, be it just any sector, all these solutions are homegrown. They are developed by students who studied in our own universities, and they are doing wonders. So what could that tell? What I'm about to suggest is that there should be a very strong very strong collaboration between SOEs and the higher learning institutions. If an SOE has a challenge, be it technology challenge, be it whatever, where do we run to find solutions? Do we go out there to look for models that were developed somewhere else? Do we go to our universities here in Tanzania and challenge us as universities? So as far as I'm concerned, really, I would like to challenge all SOEs who are here since yesterday, that put trust in our universities. We have people who have all the capabilities to do wonders. Just as I've just said, all the systems we're enjoying, right, all SOEs that are enjoying solutions, IT solutions, they are not brought from anywhere. They are developed right here. That's point. Point number two, I think I was referring to what I've just said. As COEs, directors and whatever of SOEs, what do we plan to do once we leave this place to implement some of the issues that have been raised here? I may take as an example, I think it was Ivan who was talking about how do we translate from the assets that we have into financials and financial flow. Yeah, that's right. So my point is, if you take an example of a university that I belong, we have huge land, and we planned to invite private sector to invest on that land and come to an agreement on how we're going to really share the share the profits. But the process for engaging the private sector and PPP arrangement, it takes, I don't know how to put it, years and the years to get approved from the government. So what I would like to ask here, or to request from the Office of Treasury Registrar, please try to assist us as SOEs to minimize, to shorten the process of getting approvals from authorities on engaging private sector to invest on what we have as assets that are lying idle, being purely unutilized, I would say. So that's my contribution. But I would like to emphasize further, please, SOEs, come to our universities. We have all the solutions you may think of. Thank you so much.
Please introduce your institution.
My name is Alois Mvuma. I'm Vice Chancellor of Mbeya University of Science and Technology. It's a science and technology university, and I can bet we have all the solutions in place. Just try us.
Asante sana.
Try us, please.
Hiyo pati ya mwisho ilikuwa muhimu sana.
Thank you so much.
Profesa anatoka Musti. Jamani, tuwatumie hawa wataalamu wetu pia. Si jambo zuri hilo jamani. Asante sana. Basi nakushukuru kwa mchango wako. I think I'm going now to invite my panelists to react and reflect and probably give the final message so that we can now wrap up. So I start just like I started in the earlier round. You want it to go in the reverse direction now? The mic, the roaming mic, one of the roaming mics.
Fatma, I've always thought ladies goes first. What happened this time? Anyway, thank you, moderator, and the rest of the participants. One, again, your geography is your fixed asset. I had said it in the panel, so make use of it. All here talking about what the rest of the world is doing, what they're not doing. But I would challenge this August gathering. How much have we maximized on what we have in the region? I'm talking about where Tanzania is positioned, here within the East African side and the southern side of the continent. So if we can take stock at the institutional level, I'm sure there are still opportunities even before we think going beyond the continent. So your geography, if you happen to forget everything else, I wish for you to remember that your geography is your fixed asset, because Tanzania is not moving away from this location, and we have all what it takes to maximize on that advantage that is bestowed upon this country. Number two, Dr. Sakwari spoke about interest. Just to add on what he said, thank you for bringing that up. Everyone is governed by, or is driven by interest. We start from individual level all the way up to national and beyond. So DIRA 2050 at least give us a direction of where we want to go as a country. And in my personal opinion, we must redefine our interest from the national level all the way down to the institution that we run. Unless we're very clear of what we want, then we'll be ready to take up what the world offers. Otherwise, we'll be going in cycles. So let's define and redefine our interest very clear of what we want, and then we are good to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our geography, fixed asset. Define our goal with our TDV 2050. Two key messages from Balozi. Asante sana. Ivan.
Thank you. Let me also reflect on a few items relevant to previous discussion. First, Dr. Sakwari on pricing, and I think the level of pricing. I think my comments would be, before saying if it should be higher or lower, and we discussed in our sessions how sensitive pricing is, we definitely need to address the value that is being provided on the back of that price. If that value goes up at the current price, it's akin to almost a price reduction. So before even doing an actual price reduction, which will impact cash flows, the value uplift, I think, is very important. Dr. Komba had touched on the TDV being high level and how we hit the ground. There's currently work already starting on an FYDP4, which is the 5-year development plan starting 26 to 31, which is the first 5-year period of the TDV 2050. So again, as Ida had already said, TDV 2050 is like the airplane in the sky, 40,000 feet. Then LTPP, which shows us our course. And then you have the FYDP5 that's coming closer to the ground. And then the annual implementation plans are now what's going to hit the ground running. And there's significant programs there as well to deliver on the TDV, at least for the first 5 years. Professor from MUST, I really wish the people in this room will take you up on your challenge. Specifically, perhaps if the OTR can do some sort of challenge where it calls upon universities to solve certain key SOE challenges and to make it like a competition on some of the issues they can solve. We work with some young people, and they come up with very interesting ideas on the services side. There's an SOE, and it's in this room. They receive 400 letters a day in their office, in their HQ. And sometime a letter to finance ends up utawala, ya sheria inaishia kwa mtendaji mkuu, and it's very hard to follow up. So there are people who come with a solution that's very simple. Every time a letter comes, it is scanned, it goes directly to the department. The person who sent the letter is given a notification, and there is no more ile masijala ya kusema hizi barua zimeenda kwa huku, and then it's very hard to trace them later. So there are things like this and many, many more that the young people are coming up with. So if OTR can really push some sort of a challenge and gather challenges across SOEs and allow the very smart people we have across the universities to tackle them. PPP process, again, being very long. Not only PPP, the SOE is looking to raise money, looking to get in investment, looking to start subsidiaries, looking to sell land. These have been taking time. my advice would be, again, for OTR is, we know these processes. We can create a cookie cutter, like a formula. If you want to do this, this is the formula. Right now, it may seem everybody is doing it from scratch. So they're starting and getting every individual ingredient and doing it whilst it's been done before. We should have the commitment. If one person out of this room has done it, the next person, all they do is just adopt the formula, rather than also having to start from scratch and take another 18 or 24 months. Then it won't be a self-learning system that can improve. Thank you.
Asante Ivan, nimechukua limoja la msingi sana kutoka kwako. As much as the academia calls for the SOEs and the industry to uptake its solution and capitalize on its knowledge assets, it should also take a challenge of innovating and directing its own innovations, research, and solutions to really also bring the appetite to the industry and solve the problems which the industry has. So it's a two-way thing. Asante sana. Aida.
To me, it all sums up to two things. Mathematically, I'm an accountant, so I would speak numbers. The cost of doing can never be more the cost of not doing. We've seen how technology is at play, the competition, not just in the region, but the world is getting smaller and smaller, so our competition is global. The risk that we can control, can manage, is lesser than the risk or the geopolitical situation that we can't manage. So the cost of doing something, no matter how much effort it takes, cannot be more than the cost of sitting and settling for small incremental change. I think that has to be implanted, and all of us here in the room are in the position to push for doing something big and bold. And to Professor Sylvia's question earlier, what can we learn? I will extract an example that I shared with the panel this morning. In the Malaysian airline case of transformation, when the transformation started, they were losing money to the tune of $300 million. So the transformation started with less than 3 months cash flow, with 300 million loss after tax in the books. The lesson to do here is to make a bold announcement that they will be turned around within 3 years. So that the announcement helps galvanize everyone, because as a state-owned entity, you need the powers of the nation, stakeholders, ministries, co-players to come together to help make this a national agenda. So when it comes to turnaround, make that announcement known, because then you also have to deliver. The results is that within 2 years, they turned around and recorded $200 million profit. 3 years later, they have cash reserves of $3.2 billion US dollars. They were looking to acquiring other airlines. So what is the difference is in, I think it's simply put, I mean, we can talk about P&L, analyzing, but the magic is in announcing to the world that you're doing this. And I will take my own medicine. The secret to this is that yesterday I had the opportunity of sitting next to Professor Sylvia. And she was translating a lot that was happening in the launch event. So a lot of nuggets of wisdom. And she asked, what is the presentation that you're going to do tomorrow? So I said, I'm going to talk about the game of impossible. So how do I describe to her, what does that mean? I said, imagine I have to do a presentation tomorrow at Papua Towers. My game of impossible is that by the end of the presentation, I will get a standing ovation. I've already announced to her that I will definitely get a standing ovation by the end of the presentation. What does that do to me is that after the launch event, I went back to my hotel and worked on my slides until midnight. I've already had the presentation ready, but I don't think it's standing ovation material. By announcing to her, it challenged me to play the game of impossible. I can tell you I didn't get a standing ovation, but that's okay. That's okay. That's not the point. The point is it pushes me to not get incremental change. You know, make a presentation that's safe about SOE transformation. The whole presentation, if you had a chance to sit through, was fresh out of the oven, inspired by yesterday's event, and pushed me to the boundary to play the game of impossible. So that the lessons learned to me is really just do it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Just do it. The game of the cost of not doing. Big lesson. Thank you very much, Kaka Kennedy.
Thank you very much, moderator. And I'll just touch on 3 points. The first will be connected thinking, and this will address across the board so many challenges that we have, the bureaucracy, the silos that we probably have in SOEs. So when we have connected thinking at the time that we really have now, where we have the Vision 2050, and the question of whether the universities are changing their scope to divulge from using skill-based approaches of polytechnics and the like, I would think there's need now for the Vision 2050 to be given as a KPI for specific institutions, which will go into up in the short-term development plans. And universities will then respond with specific KPIs on how best they will be able to transform and translate that vision into specific actions. The second point, and that's specifically just for university, but it cuts across different sectors that we have. And I think that's the second iteration that we have for the translation of the Vision 2050. The second point is people centricity. I'll repeat that, and that's what I was really pushing forward because it assists in terms of financial inclusion, but it also addressed the cost issues. We know that cost is a function of several factors, especially input. So at the end of the day, your cost will not be different from your initial input. And there are factors that you can address by to what extent you can reduce your leakages that adds into additional cost. How do we assess the market? How do we use data which tells us the demand side in terms of the purchasing power parity of our population, the ability of our individuals to access our services? Do we have cost policies that translate to the people that we serve? The last point will be monetizing data. To what extent the digitization that we currently have, we're using this new oil, which we know data is the new oil. We have so many systems that are currently operating, and we have a lot of data in the country at the moment. How best are we going to embrace open data, for instance? Can I use my data and say that I want to be served with a different bank? That's open banking. It's a challenge to us as regulators, and we're working towards to see how we can embrace that. But can we use this data across SOEs to enhance efficiency, but also to respond to research and development and to expand our services? Thank you.
Thank you, Kennedy. I took the message on people centricity, which puts emphasis on social sustainability. But, of course, the other messages are also very important. Dr. Adoko?
Yeah, so I want to start from this misconception. Skills, competencies versus degrees. And I think I'm uniquely positioned to comment on this. I think it's a misconception. I'll say it 3 times. I think it's a misconception, and it's a misconception. However, based on what I've heard and my knowledge of the environment, and I'm talking about specifically Africa, including Tanzania, is that there is this sort of divide between academia and industry. And again, it's a misconception. Everyone is looking for this umbrella of some sort, and they keep pointing fingers at TR. And thinking outside the box means you don't point fingers at TR to initiate. You initiate yourself, and you can invite the TR office folks to come in. I'm picking this up, that we are targeting solutions siloed. And guess what? I've been there before. Siloed solutions are very expensive. So the question was, how are you going to implement all these ideas? No, not so quickly. You really want to give this thing a systems scrub. What we are doing here, the analysis that we are going through, the presentations, the vision, all the stuff that we want to accomplish to advance Tanzania, to move this nation forward, needs a systems approach, which means it begins from here. My moderator captured it so well when she said systems thinking. So we have to begin to look at how DAWASCO is related. I know they are cousins. How Dawasco is related to Tenasco. I'm joking here. And how CLDB is related to BOT. You really have to scrub this very carefully. How sustainability, and I also have to go there. Implementing ESG goals in isolation, I would say, is expensive, and perhaps you will get nowhere. You have to tie that into 2050 vision. What are we doing? And then I have to go back to this because I raised that question. It's a misconception. So there is a need here to get industry to play actively with universities. Whatever their needs are, and I agree with Prof. Believe me, universities don't only push out degrees. They are problem solvers. They think through things. You have no idea. And they have the energy. They are set up. They are funded to do just that. Why wouldn't you leverage it? So there is this misconception, a divide. Industry is here, government is here, state-owned enterprises are here. Now we are thinking about a solution where we are charging state-owned sort of a motivation to link up one-on-one. No, we need this umbrella and solve this problem once and for all. Industry has to see universities as partners.
System
else.
thinking.
Yes, systems thinking. I think there was one more. Oh my goodness, I wrote this. I'm afraid I'm going to say this.
Please.
It looks like, as a guess, but I'm going to say it. The regulatory environment, I've been hearing this. And yesterday I joked and I said there was a comment made by a gentleman about policy and statutes not really aligning. In 2025, we can't afford that. So if the regulatory environment is so rigid, a university that owns its own land is thinking about partnerships. This morning I was talking about partnerships. And if that gentleman was in my presentation, my forum, my session, he would have said, Moses, where do I go with this when I'm being restricted by that environment? I can't think outside the box. So then it becomes just we are talking. We have to begin to act on some of these things. Once we give it that systems thinking, systems approach, we are going to pick out all the processes that should be decommissioned. Literally, somebody said kill them because they don't add value. They've weighed the system. State-owned enterprises have been weighed down by processes that perhaps are not adding value. So I'll stop right there. Those are some of the responses I wrote down.
Thank you. Now let's hear from Dr. Alfunyo.
Yeah, thank you so much, moderator. I have some few issues here just as a reminder to the board chairs and the CEOs. I think most of the time we have been reiterating the issue of 2050 vision. As I was assigned to do with the talent management, that the people management part of it, in line with the 2050 vision and the digital era, preparing a future workforce. As a call of action, I think it's a high time now for universities and industries, as what Dr. Adoko was saying here, to focus into offering what we say demand-driven programs rather than supply-driven programs. That means we go to the market and establish the needs of the market in line with the 2050 vision. Also, the other aspect that I think is important to emphasize is for state-owned enterprises. And this may not only be for state-owned enterprises, maybe as a nation, to come up with a comprehensive approach to, to prepare competency framework for skill set and the future needs in terms of the technological requirements, the competency requirements, so that they can be aligned with the 2050 vision. And this takes us now to institutional level. Institutions also, they are supposed to have their competency framework. And not only having competency framework, but also to prepare the learning roadmap or capacity learning roadmap to ensure that their strategies are aligned with people. And this, at the end of the day, will take us to what our moderator was talking about, return on investment on talent. If you want to establish the return on investment on talent, there must be also what we call the meritocracy in terms of recruitment, but also deployment. Because recruitment, you may have good people, but if they are wrongly deployed, you may not get the return on investment. So it's high time we embrace, but also implement and execute meritocratic principles when we talk about people management within the state-owned enterprises. This will ensure that we have the right people doing the right job in the right time, but with the right competencies. And in that regard, we'll be in a position to achieve the 2050 vision, but also our corporate strategic plans. And finally, is integration approach to all the initiatives that we are undertaking. There should be an integration so that we are not becoming a stumbling block to one another. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Invest in or ensure meritocracy to ensure that we get return on investment from our talents. Daniel.
Asante. Government is doing something about our education. I'd like you to bring you to attention about the HEAT project. That is Higher Education for Economic Transformation. I'm not sure if you've heard about it. It's a huge project involving more than 19 institutions, including COSTECH, TCU, Ministry of Education, University of Dar es Salaam, University of Dodoma, MOST, IFM, etc. The aim, there are 8 key areas they are covering. I'll mention the few. One is curricular development and curricular review. So the idea is to create new curriculum which will reflect the labor market's need. And in the development of this curriculum, or in the reviewing of this curriculum, we are required, I'm from the higher learning institution, we are required to use industry advisory committee. So every university, they have industry advisory committee, which is made up of people from the industry. So we are not creating new curriculum or reviewing inside our own universities. Rather, we are allowing other people from the industry to help us in creating curriculum which will reflect what is required out there. Other area is infrastructure building, rehabilitation and constructing of new infrastructure, and the issue of capacity building. So there are a lot of lecturers who are going to increase the capacity and things like that. That is one. I wanted you to know about that. The second one, we have several challenges from different organizations. For example, TIOB, that is Tanzania Institute of Bankers, they usually run challenges every year, and our students from different universities participate. And again, ICT Commission, also they run different challenges. And as we are speaking now, one of the bank, I want to mention its name, they have an AI bootcamp currently going on, made up of students from our university. So something is being done in improving our education, in aligning our universities with the industry. And again, there was a Huawei challenge. Well, this is an international challenge, and the University of Dodoma students, they were #1 in the world in this Huawei challenge. So we have very good students. We lack here and there, but we're not that bad. So I'd like you to know that. Lastly, in homegrown talents, we at IFM, 80 years ago, we wanted to have a very good, robust ERP for our institute. So we went all over the world. We went to Malaysia, Thailand, Netherlands, Denmark, London, everywhere. And we come back and there was no solution which was fit for us. So in 2018, we used our own homegrown talents to create our own system, ERP. And we have one of the best ERP for universities in Tanzania. And we did it ourselves. So it is very possible. Lastly, I think SOE, you should trust us, universities and Tanzanian. Probably there's missing linkage here and there, but if you, as you said, Professor from MOST, if you come to us, we'll do something. If we fail to do it, then at least we'll improve from that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. I think you have triggered me to reflect just briefly on this debate, which could be ongoing anyway, on technical vis-a-vis tertiary education. And personally, I think the growth and evolution of the tertiary education is still okay, considering that probably just around 5% of the population only have access to tertiary education in this nation up to this point. But at the same time, we should not forget about expanding the tertiary education. But what you said, Daniel, is that the tertiary education itself is evolving in such a way that it also gives some skills and competencies which it never used to give with the assistance of the HEAT project. So they try to produce graduates who can do things with their hands rather than just being theoretical or more academic. So there's a kind of like a co-evolution. But at the same time, of course, the debate can still continue. Now I've finalized my panel with Madam.
Thank you. Thank you. What I would urge also is there are a lot of queries around minimizing the cost. I've heard about what can we do to minimize the cost so that we can attract public to come and use the service that the SOEs are offering. One of the things which I would look at is efficiency. If we have that efficiency, automatically, efficiency is equal to currency. If you have that efficiency, automatically, your cost will go down. And how do you have that efficiency? My brother here has been talking about digitization. We need to go to be digitized. We need to move into that space as we speak. If we don't digitize, if we don't move with that speed at the digitization, someone else will come to take over from us. And the good thing I keep saying about SOEs, most of the SOEs are monopolized, meaning like they're only one entities across the country, unlike us where we have series of competitors. So you need to be abreast. You need to be ahead of the market in order to continue leading the place. So digitization is a way to go. But there was a question on homegrown talents. I want to share a bit about that because in Puma, we do have what we call graduate trainee. We do pick or tap the talents in the local markets. And I say in one of the universities in Dar es Salaam, we take the top talents, we bring them into our organizations, we train them for a year as undergraduate trainee program. After 1 year, and actually we give them exposure. We ask them to choose any country in Africa. They go for a month during that program. They go, they learn, they get an exposure. When they come back, you'll be surprised with the amount of talents they've gained and the innovations they do. I have a number of them. They've done wonderful jobs. We are soon launching CNG station. That's been implemented and run by our own local talent, young graduate trainee. And another one is implementing what we call operational excellence at our depot, whereby he's done end-to-end to see how best we can reduce turnaround time to serve our customers from 2 hours to 40 minutes. It's been done by our local talents. So we do have talents. What we need to do is to tap on those talents, elevate them and nurture them so that they're able to serve our country.
Nakushukuru sana. Umeongea kwa passion, being the last. Nadhani pale mwanzoni pia, just like it was with the panel, you were very brief. But this time around, umefunguka and you got the message. Remember, she's leading a multinational corporation in which our government has shares through Office of the Tiara, and it is award-winning, right? Asante. Basi tumefika mwisho wa panel yetu. Naomba tuwapigie makofi panelist. Na nitaomba ni waruhusu warejee kwenye sehemu zao za kuketi. Lakini wakati wanakwenda kuketi, naomba viongozi tusome ujumbe ambao upo kwenye screen pale and then reflect. We might not have the opportunity to really have a discussion on that particular one, lakini kama ambavyo ameomba kanali mstaafu mzee wangu Simbakalia, tuende nao, tuondoke na ujumbe kwa siku ya leo vile vile. Kwa hiyo tusome, tupitie kwa kimya, alafu ninaombi dogo sana baada ya kupitia. Sawa. Naomba mpatieni maiki aongeze kwenye ujumbe wakati tunausoma. Kipaza sauti kwake tafadhali.
TRS, nasema hii, forgive my impertinence. I'm referring to, in particular, because I said it during the session, greater flexibility of organization, day-to-day administration is essential if real service to be given to the people of the public sector of the economy. Frankly speaking, and I'm not saying this with any pretended modesty, in my experience, for what it is worth, for example, I don't see this dual reporting system that the board, I'm chair of the board, I signed performance contract with TR, which I believe in terms of governance, good corporate governance, that is proper. And then my CEO signs with the ministry. In plain language, mimi nafikiri tuondoke, wizara zisiendeshe taasisi, mfumo mzima tuangalie. Mimi nafikiri maneno hayo mzee hayo mpaka leo yako hai. Mimi ndio rai yangu hiyo. Labda nimekuwa suicide commando, lakini kama kuna mawazo tofauti tuseme. Sasa tutasemea wapi pingine jamani? Asante sana.
Asante sana. Sina hakika sana kama Tiara una neno katika hili au hapana. Asante. Nashukuru. Sasa nilikuwa na leo ombi langu na nitasema kwa nini. Tawa yupo? Tawa kama yupo, aidha mwenyekiti au mtendaji mkuu? Aha, najua kwa nini watakuwa kuna mambo wanayoweka sawa. Basi niseme tu, kuna jambo ambalo Tawa ameliandaa kwa ajili yetu jioni ya leo. Yupo Sawa. Tawa atasema neno kwa ajili ya ukaribisho wa baadaye kidogo, lakini ombi ilikuwa ni kwamba wakati kule kunakaa sawa, ninaomba dakika zenu 10 tu. Najua mmechoka sana, siku imekuwa ndefu, nzuri, productive, lakini hizi dakika 10 kuna dashboard nilikuwa nataka kidogo just tuipitie. Alafu tutakuwa free na nadhani mambo ya Tawa yanaweza kawa yako tayari. Basi kwa dakika 2 nimkaribishe Tawa aje hapa kwenye podium aseme. Najua kule pia anaweza kupata nafasi ya kuzungumza, lakini atuhakikishie kwamba tusiondoke tukaenda kwenye hoteli na sehemu tunapopumzika tukitoka kwenye huu ukumbi wa Simba Hall. Karibu. Tumpigie makofi jamani.
Na wasalimu kwa jina la Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Habari za jioni. Naitwa Mlage Yusuf Kabange, kaimu kamishna wa hifadhi Tawa. Naomba nichukue nafasi hii kuwakaribisha katika nyamapori choma ambayo tumeiandaa kwa niaba ya Tiara. Tawa ni taasisi iliyo chini ya Wizara ya Maliasili na Utalii ambayo inahusika na uvunaji wa wanyamapori, matumizi ambayo ni ya uvunaji. Hatuhifadhi sumu, tunahifadhi na kutumia pia. Kwa hiyo tutawakaribisha sana muweze kujumuika katika nyamapori choma hiyo ambayo tuliandaliwa. Nadhani tutapata nafasi ya kuongea baadaye kule. Tutakuja na ujumbe kwamba tunatoa nafasi, sheria inaruhusu kwa watu binafsi pamoja na mashirika kufuga wanyamapori katika maeneo yetu. Utalii wetu sisi ni wildlife based. Kwa hiyo maeneo ya uwekezaji yakipata nafasi pia ya kufuga wanyamapori, thamani ya uwekezaji inaongezeka. Najua nitapata nafasi ya kuongea, tutaongea kwa kirefu, lakini kwa nafasi hii tu niwakaribishe rasmi. Asanteni sana.
Naomba tuongeze makofi kama ishara ya kupokea ukaribisho. Asante sana. Naamini wote tutaitika. Basi nikitazama nyuso naona ombi langu la zile dakika 10 za kufanya mapitio ya dashboard limekubalika. Namuomba aliyeandaliwa kuwasilisha dashboard aje afanye kwa hizo dakika 10 ambazo nimepewa, halafu tufunge katika ukumbi wa Simba Hall, twende kwenye hiyo ratiba ambayo inafuata. Karibu sana. Nadhani ni Donald unafanya kutokea huko
Asante sana MC. Kwa ridhaa ya mkutano naomba niifanyie hapa nilipo, kwa sababu nitakuwa na fanya demonstration ya live system, na hapa nilipo ndo kuna reliable network au internet. Jana tuliona presentation ya dashboard ambayo tunaita executive dashboard kwa ajili ya viongozi wakuu wa serikali, lakini pia tulizungumzia madirisha mengine mawili ambayo hatukwenda ndani zaidi. Dirisha la kwanza tulisema ni dirisha la mashirika ambayo nimesha login pia, na kwa ajili ya kuokoa muda nime login ili muweze kuona tu dirisha la mashirika linavyoonekana. Lakini vile vile tuna dirisha la ofisi ya msajili wa hazina ambayo yenyewe ina huduma nyingi zaidi, na ndiko ambako tunafanya masuala yote ya uendeshaji wa ofisi, especially katika core business processes. Sasa nitaenda specifically nikianza sehemu kuu kurudi nyuma. Tukienda kule kwenye NTR collection, utaona kwamba nikienda kwenye government investment, katika sehemu hii tunaonyesha uwekezaji wa serikali kwa ujumla wake. Lakini kwa sasa hivi tunajua kwamba tuko kwenye mwaka wa fedha ambao haujafanyiwa auditing, kwa hiyo uwekezaji unaoonekana hapa sio wenyewe. Lakini let's say tukienda mwaka jana wa fedha, tutaona kwamba kuna taarifa ambazo zinakuja na hizo data ziko kwenye trillions. Bado tunaendelea kuvuta hizo taarifa kutoka kwenye financial systems, tumefanya integration tayari, kwa hiyo zinakuja kwa kadri ambavyo tunaona. Kwenye overall investment unaweza ukaona kinachoendelea kwenye commercial entities, unaweza ukaona serikali imeinvest kiasi gani kwenye non-commercial na kwenye minority interest. Lakini pia kwenye window ya performance ambao ndo nilitaka twende ndani kidogo, eneo hili tunaonyesha kwa sehemu kubwa performance ya mashirika kwenye masuala mbalimbali kulingana na jinsi ambavyo ofisi ya msajili wa hazina anapima mashirika yake. Lakini katika eneo hili utaona katikati hapa kuna sehemu inaitwa institutions profile, ambapo kiongozi mkuu akiingia hapo ana uwezo wa kuvuta taarifa za taasisi yoyote ambayo iko chini ya ofisi ya msajili wa hazina. Kwa hiyo utaona orodha ya mashirika yote, lakini pia unaweza ukasearch taarifa yoyote ambayo inapatikana hapa katika zile kategori zote nilizozitaja. Lakini akitaka kujua hawa watu governance yao ikoje, performance yao katika governance ikoje, au performance yao katika financial ikoje, ana uwezo wa kuitafuta taasisi yoyote hapa na akaingia kwenye mojawapo ya taasisi akaona taarifa mbalimbali zinazohusu taasisi husika. Mfano, katika hii nimeingia katika taasisi inaitwa e-Government Authority. Kwa mfano, taarifa hizi niseme kwamba ni taarifa halisi, isipokuwa bado zinaendelea kuvutwa na mfumo katika mifumo mbalimbali ya financial na mifumo mingine ya serikali. Kwa hiyo disclaimer ni kwamba namba unazoziona hapo bado hazijakamilika, lakini ni live data. Kwa hiyo tuna uwezo wa kuona kwamba taasisi hii return on investment yake kulingana na vipimo vilivyowekwa ni kiasi gani. Naomba niende kwenye taasisi moja ya kibiashara, let's say labda TTCL. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Rais au waziri au msajili wa hazina ana uwezo wa kuitafuta TTCL, akaingia hapo akaona TTCL inafanyaje, return on investment kwa upande wa TTCL ikoje, revenue growth yake, net profit yake ikoje, upande wa financial anafanyaje. Ataona hizo taarifa kwa kila mwaka wa fedha atakaochagua na trend yake, budget yake na performance yote ana uwezo wa kuona. Lakini at the same time anaweza akaona investment iliyowekezwa katika TTCL kwa kipindi cha miaka 10. Trend inaendaje kwa kila mwaka na return ya hiyo trend ikoje. Ukiangalia hapa unaona investment, return on capital, liabilities na baadhi ya taarifa ambazo zinaonekana. Kwa hiyo ana uwezo wa kufanya maamuzi according to taarifa ambazo zinaonekana kwenye system live. Lakini kwenye eneo la governance pia hapo kwenye taasisi hiyo ana uwezo wa kuona mkuu wa taasisi, establishment ya taasisi, bodi ya taasisi, wajumbe wa bodi ni akina nani, management ya ofisi hiyo ni akina nani, na kadhalika na kadhalika. Kwa hiyo katika eneo hili tunafanya integration na mifumo ya utumishi pia kwa ajili ya kuhakikisha kwamba taarifa ziko reliable. Lakini ukienda sehemu ya important documents una uwezo wa kuona muundo wa taasisi hiyo, training programs zao kama wana program kwa ajili ya kukuza uelewa wa watumishi, project zinazoendelea, SP yao unaweza ukaiview, quarterly reports anaweza akaziangalia kutoka kwenye hizo important documents. Kwa hiyo katika eneo hili la profiling ya taasisi kiongozi mkuu ana uwezo wa kuona taarifa zote, financials, investment, governance, nyaraka zao na data zingine zinazohusu eneo hilo. Lakini pia ana uwezo wa kwenda sehemu ya governance kwa ujumla, ambayo ataona governance katika serikali nzima ikoje, CEOs wote ambao wako kwenye acting positions, bodi ambazo zime-expire muda wake, wenyeviti wa bodi ambao nafasi zao zinakaribia kuisha au wajumbe wa bodi na kadhalika. Zote hizo zina uwezo wa kuonekana kwenye dashboard. Lakini kwenye NTR, ukienda kwenye makusanyo, tuna uwezo wa kuona, mfano hapa tunaona budget halisi ya mwaka huu. Tunaona mpaka sasa hivi makusanyo ni kiasi gani ambayo tayari imeshaingia kwenye mfuko mkuu wa serikali. Lakini ana uwezo wa kuangalia, tunaona kwamba so far tuko performance ni 0.54%. Lakini ukiangalia kwenye hiyo collection, tuna uwezo wa kuona kwamba taasisi fulani kama inavyoonekana hapa yenyewe imewasilisha kiasi gani kwa upande wa contributions na katika consolidated government fund. Lakini dividend, kama kuna taasisi yoyote imeshawasilisha mpaka sasa hivi, kwa sasa tunaona ni mpaka sasa hivi ni taasisi moja ambayo yenyewe ni asilimia imecontribute 7% of what is collected until to date kwa miezi hii miwili, lakini ni 0.09% ya budget nzima ya mwaka mzima. Hivyo katika interest and loan, lakini katika surplus and other remittances pia tunaweza tukaona, pamoja na kule kwenye mfumo wa teletraffic monitoring system ambayo inasimamiwa na TCRA na taarifa zingine. Kwa hiyo dashboard inatoa details and comprehensive analysis ya operations ambazo zinaendelea kwenye taasisi zetu, na tunaendelea kuintegrate kuhakikisha kwamba dashboard inatoa reliable data as much as possible. Sasa nikimalizia, niende kwenye hii window yenu ya PSCs. Kuna sehemu ya NTR management na taarifa zingine. Kwenye NTR, mwenyekiti wa bodi au mkuu wa taasisi husika unakuwa na uwezo wa kuona jinsi ambavyo una perform kwenye non-tax revenue na masuala mengine ambayo tutaweka. Lakini kuna hii sehemu ambayo nitaka kuizungumzia ya performance contract management. Katika eneo la performance contract management ambayo tunaiwasilisha sasa hivi katika mashirika yenu, una uwezo wa kuview ya kila mwaka. Sasa katika mwaka huu wa 2025-26 kwa taasisi hii ambayo user ameingia kwa hii demonstration National Social Security Fund, muhusika ana uwezo wa kuona performance contract ilivyo, kwamba performance contract ya mwaka huu tayari imepita katika drafting stage, ilishatoka, imefanyiwa preview na planning officer, OTR, ofisi ya TR amefanya preview, imesharudi, imeshafanywa, imesainiwa na ofisi ya TR, lakini CEO wa taasisi hiyo alisha-sign, na katika hatua inayofuata mwenyekiti amesha sign na iko katika implementation. Na hizi signature zote tumefanya integration na mfumo unaosimamiwa na e-government authority kwa maana ya IGA ya signature. Kwa hiyo utatakiwa kusign katika mfumo bila kudownload au kuletewa karatasi. Popote ulipo unakuwa na uwezo wa kupreview performance contract na ukaisign. Na yote hayo tunayapima katika maeneo tofauti. Mfano unaweza kaona hapa kuna core functions zako, lakini kuna general financial metrics ambazo pia unaweza kazipreview ukaziangalia kulingana na taasisi hiyo. Kuna customer service, kuna people management metrics, good governance and compliance na kadhalika. Kwa hiyo mnavojaza huku kwa upande wa taasisi husika na kadhalika, utaona upande wa TR pia tuna uwezo wa kuona hizo taarifa. Tukiingia kwenye performance contract, tuna uwezo wa kuona taasisi ngapi so far zimepelekewa, na kila taasisi performance contract ameimplement au imewasilishwa mpaka hatua gani. Na tuna uwezo wa kuangalia, mfano kwa ile PSSF ambayo nilikuwa naizungumzia, ukiingia hapa kuangalia utaona kwamba katika metrics zote 5 ambazo tumewasilisha, kila moja ina asilimia ngapi na utekelezaji wake upo katika hatua gani na wanafanya nini na iko kwenye stage gani kwa sasa hivi. Kwa sababu hii sio demo full kwa ajili ya kuanza matumizi, naomba niishie hapo, lakini tunaendelea kuandaa utaratibu mzuri kwa ajili ya kuja kuwasilisha kwenu na kutoa training katika kila taasisi ambayo inakusudiwa kutumia mfumo huu. Naomba kuwasilisha.
Asante sana Donald kwa wasilisho. Director wa ICT kutoka ofisi ya msajili wa hazina na kwa ahadi kwamba kutakuwa kuna ushirikiano mzuri kabisa kwenye hiyo process ili kuhakikisha kwamba kuna kushare uzoefu na kuhakikisha kila mmoja anakuwa equipped na namna ambavyo ata interact na huo mfumo. Basi nashukuru kwa hilo. Kuhusiana na mwaliko, labda niweke msisitizo, kuna ambao hawatumii nyamapori, kuna alternatives. Kuku zipo na mambo mengine tofauti ambayo kwa nyinyi yatakuwa yanawafaa. Kwa hivyo naondoa shaka na naendelea kuwasitiza kuwakaribisha. Kuna vibe, kuna vinywaji pia, lakini pia kutakuwa kuna band, kwa hiyo ni burudani, nyama hizo na aina nyingine ya vitu ambavyo mtakuwa mnavihitaji. Hata vegetarian kuna kitu mtapata. Kwa hiyo tusiwe na wasiwasi. Sawa jamani? Tusiache kushiriki. Basi kufikia hapo viongozi, nipende kuwashukuru sana kwa siku hii ya leo ya kikao kazi. Na wakumbusha tu kwamba kesho itakuwa ni siku ya kufunga. Ratiba itaanzia hapa Simba Hall saa 2:45, wasilisho la kwanza la dira litaanza. Kwa hivyo tukiwa hapa pamoja tutatoa nafasi nzuri zaidi ya kufunga kwa wakati. Basi kwa hayo niwatakie jioni njema, niwashukuru sana wote, na tutaendelea kukutana kwenye social interaction hapo nje. Labda moja kutoka kwa Tiara kabla tusijafanya kufunga kabisa. Karibu Tiara.
Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Hebu niseme sio tujipigie, tuwapigie makofi washiriki. Nawashukuruni sana kwa commitment, kwa muda wenu. I hope kwamba kila session imekuwa na manufaa na inatupa hamu kwamba we can come next year again. Lakini pia niendelee kuwashukuru secretariat kwa kazi nzuri ambayo mmekuwa mnafanya na timu yote ambao mko kwenye hiyo shughuli. Ratiba yetu ya kesho itabaki vile vile kama ilivyo. Nilitaka tu nilete tu rejesho moja. Tutakuwa na naibu waziri mkuu ambaye atakuja kutufungia session yetu kesho, na tayari ameshawasili kwa ajili ya hiyo. Kwa hiyo tujitahidi keep discipline tu kwenye program zetu kama zilivyo. Attendance yetu iendelee kuwa vizuri, asiwepo mtu akondoka mapema mpaka pale shughuli ambapo inakuwa imekamilika. Pamoja nayo, kwa niaba yenu naomba kuwashukuru TAWA ambao mmekuwa part ya this evening. Lakini kimsingi karibuni sote. Kuna burudani, kuna vinywaji na hicho chakula kilicho chema na kizuri. Niwatakie jioni njema na mchapalo mwema na network iliyo njema. Asanteni sana.
Asante. Lekinyasa ndio ukumbi ambapo tutakuwa tuna event yetu ya jioni ya leo. Nikumbushe tena ushers kutoka AICC wana briefcase pamoja na simu janja ambazo zilipotea. Wenye nazo wanaweza kuwaona kwa ajili ya kuzipata. Sehemu ya nje ya Lekinyasa ambapo palikuwa pamekuwa pakifanyika maonyesho ndo ambapo itakuwa shughuli. Basi niwatakie jioni njema na niwakaribishe tujongee kuelekea eneo ambalo tukio lina happen wakati tukiendelea kusocialize na kunetwork. Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Asante sana.